Hey all, it's Wonton here. I'm going to do a quick video on Subrogue in patch 7.35. I'm not going to do a full video guide because, to be honest, the spec hasn't changed that much since patch 7.25, so if you want a full guide, just watch my 7.25 guide that's on my channel. But I will talk about sort of the things that are different and go over how to do the DFA combo again. So the talent setup that you're going to be playing with is still the same one that we've been playing with for ages: Master of Subtlety, Night Stalker, Deeper Stratagem, Dark Shadow, Death from Above. If you actually look at these talents, you'll probably see why. 12% more damage while stealth, 10% more damage while stealth, 30% more damage while shadow danced. Basically all of these things stack up to give us insane damage bonuses while we're using shadow dance. And there's a certain exploit you can do with Death from Above that allows you to get the eviscerate part of it into shadow dance and then still get 4 globals out of the actual shadow dance cast. So let me show you what that looks like and what I mean by that. So Death from Above is sort of a finisher that replaces eviscerate. And if you use it, there's two parts to it. There's a spin, and then we're going to land, and we're going to do an eviscerate. And the trick here is, once Death from Above comes off cooldown, I'll show you. The trick here is that you can actually use Shadow Dance in midair and have it go off about like 0.3 seconds before your Death from Above lands, which will, of course, buff the eviscerate part of your Death from Above with all of those huge buffs, and then still allow you to use 4 globals afterwards. So let me show you what that looks like. This isn't how you would actually use Death from Above, this is just an example. So I'm mashing my Shadow Dance button, and I don't know if you noticed, but that went off right before it landed, and I got a 4.7 million eviscerate. And that's without really actually even using it properly. That's a pretty low eviscerate, actually. On boss fights, I typically get around 12 million eviscerates pretty commonly on single target, and if you're using Shuriken combo on AoE to buff it up, you can get about 18 million eviscerates. So, to show you what the actual combo looks like, and this isn't an actual opener, but just an example of the combo, you're going to, of course, want Nightblade running on your target. And I'm not using the legendary hands right now just to explain this. I would actually on a boss fight, but I'm not going to assume that everyone watching has the legendary hands. So if you don't have the hands, and let's say none of these cooldowns are up, you're just using Symbols and Death from Above, you're going to activate Symbols, and then hit DFA, and on the way down you're going to spam Shadow Dance, and go Shadow Strike, Eviscerate, Shadow Strike. That's your combo. So let me show you again what that looks like. Let's say you have Nightblade applied. You're going to build full combo points, assuming you don't have the hands. And then you're going to Symbols, DFA, and then spam Shadow Dance on the way down. Shadow Strike, Eviscerate, Shadow Strike. Now this does get a little more complicated if we, say, equip the legendary hands, or if we start getting the 4-piece from Antorus involved, so I'm going to equip both of those. So if you have the legendary hands, then you're going to actually want, instead of popping Symbols at full combo points, you're going to want to pop it at 0 combo points. And then immediately go into a backstab, and then Death from Above, and Shadow Dance on the way down, and then same thing as before. Because our legendary hands allow us to fill our combo points to 5 or 6 with our next backstab or Shadow Strike. So we're going to use that actually at 0, obviously, to get the benefit of our hands. Now technically what I said there wasn't quite correct, because actually your legendary hands give you the buff for 2 seconds after popping Symbols, which means you get 2 globals. So ideally what you actually want to do is, I'm going to put up a big Nightblade here again, is what you actually want to do is you pop Symbols and then use an Eviscerate and then use the last second of your buff to get those combo points for your DFA. And again, afterwards it's Shadow Strike, Eviscerate, Shadow Strike. This weak aura, by the way, is my 4-piece proccing, so you'll see that I don't actually use combo points for that Nightblade that I just applied, because my 4-piece buff was active. So if Vanish is off cooldown and you're not using the legendary hands, what you're going to do is you're going to hit Symbols and then Vanish into a Shadow Strike, and then DFA and go into your combo. If you have Vanish and the legendary hands equipped, and this is what this looks like. You're going to have your Nightblade applied, then you're going to Symbols into a Vanish Shadow Strike, and then DFA into your combo. And finally, putting all that together, let me show you sort of what a real opener looks like. In this we're going to use Shadow Blades as well, and we're going to combine everything we've learned. So I'll do it first without the legendary hands. Popping my first Shadow Dance right away, and then I'm vanishing into a Shadow Strike, and then going into my DFA dance. I actually did not get a second Shadow Strike at the end there, which is bad. That will happen sometimes. You want to avoid it as much as possible. You know, a really, really good player would not have had that happen. But I make that mistake sometimes too. So if you can, you actually want to pool a little bit of energy before dancing, because you really need to get 4 abilities into your dances. That's where most of your damage comes from. That's the thing with Subtlety Rogue, is almost all your damage comes during your shadow dances. Your downtime is like 200k DPS, and then your shadow dances are like 2 million DPS. And now let me show you what the opener looks like with everything up and hands equipped. I'll even keep the 4-piece equipped, we'll see if it procs. We're going to open with another Shadow Strike out of Stealth with Shadow Blades. Symbols into a dance, eviscerate, 2 Shadow Strikes, and we're going to vanish into a DFA, Shadow Dance on the way down, Shadow Strike, eviscerate, Shadow Strike. Our Nightblade's expiring, we're going to refresh that, and now we can use our Gorfine's Bite. And that's the opener. Oh look, there's a 4-piece proc. And we just wasted a lot of energy, but that's kind of unavoidable when you've got the Feeding Frenzy buff from Gorfine's Bite. So that's the core of how to play Subtlety Rogue in 7.3.5. Really, the Shadow Dance combo has not changed very much at all. What's changed is that we use the hands now, if you have those, obviously, if you're lucky enough to have those. Although synthesizing legendaries in 7.3.5 will hopefully allow you to get these a little faster. On single target, these are the best legendary with the shoulders. Now, something that's worth to mention is you really don't want to be delaying your Symbols of Death at all. It's really important to use this basically off cooldown, and then Death from Above has a slightly lower cooldown, so you're just going to use Death from Above with Symbols every time. You're never really going to be waiting for Death from Above, you're going to be waiting for Symbols. You don't often use Shadow Dances outside of this combo. They have a minute recharge, so you might be like, oh, 30 seconds here and a minute here, what? But actually, Shadow Dance's cooldown is reduced every time you use combo points, so it works out to be about a 30-second recharge. It's pretty even. Sometimes you'll have an extra Shadow Dance. If you're about to cap on Shadow Dances and Symbols isn't up soon, just use a Shadow Dance and, you know, get 4 abilities in as usual. But most of them will be used with your Symbols of Death. It's really important, however, that before you use Symbols of Death, your Nightblade is refreshed with 10 or more seconds. It's okay to even ignore the normal rules for refreshing dots when doing this. Like, for example, let's say Symbols is 5 seconds away, and Nightblade has 10 seconds left. Well, refreshing Nightblade at 10 seconds is a little early. Its full duration is only 18 seconds. You're wasting some of the duration there. But it's still better to refresh it there, and then use the next 5 seconds to build more combo points to use your combo right away, because you want that 15% damage increase from Nightblade on the target for the whole duration of Symbols. You don't want it to fall off early. If it falls off a couple seconds early, that's fine, but you don't want it to fall off 4 seconds into your Symbols or something like that. You want it there for your meatiest, hardest hitting abilities. On AoE, the class continues to play the exact same. You're going to use Shuriken Storms, you're going to Nightblade one main target. It's really nice if there's a boss and some ads, for example, but if you're just doing a trash pack, just like pick the most dangerous or the biggest health target and just focus that usually. And yeah, you're just going to dump Eviscerates into that target, generating combo points with Shuriken Storm, and whenever you can, use a DFA. Gear remains pretty much the same. Mastery is your best stat, but not like by a huge amount. Actually, I have 14k Mastery and then 7k Verse and 8k Crit. And as a result, my stat weights are almost exactly tied. If you want to check your stat weights, I just recommend raidbots.com. It's a really simple website that'll sim your character and generate stat weights. It'll probably be something like Mastery, then Agility, then Verse Crit, and then Haste. But sim your character to find out. If you have a choice of trinkets, most people don't, but if you do, Spectre, Betrayal, and Golgoneth's Fatality are 2 pretty good ones. Obviously, the Pantheon trinket is best in slot. 4-piece if you can, and the best relics that you want are Gut Ripper and Weak Point. I'm lucky enough to have 3 here and 1 here. By the way, if you want a nice graphical explanation of what these openers look like and a really detailed explanation of the whole spec, I'm going to link a guide in the description. It's by a rogue named Fu, who is a moderator in the Ravenhold Discord and a really knowledgeable rogue. The guide is really good. It's very in-depth. It lays out everything, all sorts of scenarios. So that'll be linked in the description. Please check that out. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you drop a like and subscribe to my channel. It helps my channel grow. Thanks for watching.